Tuesday, week 12, another big week coming. This week we are really diving into the flowers. You can see behind me here the daffodils are starting. We've been big into the tulips and we're prepping for our first market. And we're also preemptively getting prepared for the following weekend, which is Mother's Day and our opening of our plant sale. So a lot going on. And then of course also prepping the fields because plenty of planting to do as well. All right, so it's a bit of a rainy day, so we thought it would be a great morning to do some reorientation. So we have a list of reorientation things that we want to cover so that the crew, because everyone is mostly returning and knows everything, but there are still some refreshers we want for certain areas. So we're in the nursery right now, and Caitlin typically does it because it's best to have one person do the nursery because there's so much nuance to the different needs of each plant with watering. But we're just gonna do a quick reorientation for everyone so that if in a pinch we need someone to pop by and do a watering, that everyone knows how it's supposed to be done. So here we go. Visually, you're looking at each tray individually. So I'm just going around and ensuring that I water it all the corners equally. I always go the outside first and then through the middle. And we would do an entire section. I'm not gonna do this right now, guys, because I don't wanna overwater. But I would do an entire section like that. So you're not watering like this. Like you're not getting a section like this. And maybe when you get more experience, you can kind of do two at a time, but I really want you to think of it as doing one at a time. And then you do a whole section, and then you come back and get the second, like get it a second time. So I often do one line, and then the next line, and then come back to my next line. So I would do this section of 4 in a sort of zigzag pattern. And what that first watering does, because often the top dries down, so the first watering sort of makes the top permeable, and then the second one is actually when it gets watered in. Because if you do it just once, the water mostly runs off. So you need that first one to sort of soften the top, and then the second one to actually get in there. That's really it. The big problem that we often see is the corners drying out, which means that it's just not being watered evenly. And then the other problem would be where we're not getting it twice, and then over time what happens is you get a crust forming on top, so you think you're watering and those plants are actually not getting any water. So those are the two #1 problems. And like I said, in the early stages of management, and often a mistake early managers make is thinking that they're the only one that can do things, but really you're actually the biggest bottleneck on your farm. And when you train people to do things, they're fully capable. Anyone can really do anything if they're taught properly. So any issues with staff being able to complete tasks that you're afraid to delegate is really your problem of training, to be completely honest. So once you start to have faith in people and learn how to create systems and train adequately, then you can begin to step away from certain tasks. So the last one, literally the last one I think on the farm right now for me is the BCS, and Cal is stepping up, and it's pretty intimidating thing to learn if you don't have a ton of experience with small machinery, but she's taking it on quickly and it's been really good. Yeah. Try to plan the weeks so that on a rainy day the crew can do something inside, but sometimes it doesn't work out. And this week there is no other work other than prep and outdoor work, so right now that's what we're doing. It's not raining too bad, but it is a rainy day, and right now the crew is just going around and fixing the cat tunnels. And that is like a 3 or even 4 person job, because what happens is if we're not on top of tightening the strings, a good wind will come, or rain, and slowly slip the plastic to one side. So we have literally one person on one side pushing the plastic up, another person on the inside edging it over the arch, and another person pulling it down. If you only have 2, we've attempted to try to just pull it over, but you end up just getting stuck because you need someone moving that sort of the lumped up stuff over the ridge, the peak of the the cat tunnel. So as you can see here, I actually have had the plastic slide right off in the past, so doing this little bit of maintenance is much better. So we're making some quick changes to greenhouse 2 before we go do the refresher on the VCS. And what I always do when I'm doing greenhouse or irrigation work is lay out the parts first, because it can really be a brain tease sometimes. So we're gonna replace the spot here, this elbow, with a T. Then we're gonna put a cap on here. Our issue was that we weren't getting enough pressure. So like this system can only do 4 beds at a time. So instead of trying to do 8, which I was doing, I'm breaking it into 2, which we have the capability here. And I remembered that they advised this. I just kind of tried to cheat a little bit. So we're going to separate it into 2 separate sections that do alternating 15-minute pulses, and same for greenhouse 1. So our manifold actually has 4 automated valves to flick on and off. So Cal and I are just updating this now to add 2 more sections, like 1 for each greenhouse, so that we're cutting the volume in half. So we just got greenhouse 2 done. I'm working on greenhouse 1. So Cal's got it finalized here. They're now separate. We've got this zone over here and this zone over here. And we're gonna test it out manually right now. So Cal's just about to do that. And then we'll switch it to automation as we get the hang of it. So Cal testing it, what she's gonna do is just check the efficacy of it, because the problem with too many was that at the far end of the greenhouse, we weren't getting as much water. It wasn't evenly watering, and throughout the season, that would end up causing a lot of problems. So we got that all done and fixed, and they're going well. So now both greenhouses are split into 2 zones each, and it's a learning experience, because it's one of those things where you just set something up and forget about it. And like last year, there's no way our tomatoes, anything in our greenhouses was getting adequate watering. So this year is gonna be a world of difference, and I was wondering, scratching my head, why things weren't growing well. And it was because there just wasn't enough pressure to adequately water when I thought we were. And if you're not regularly checking the soil, there's no way to monitor that. And in peak season, when you're just going, it's hard to remember to just do those details and also identify those issues. So this is gonna be a huge benefit to our greenhouse crops. And granted, we still had an incredible growing year in our greenhouses last year. So it's gonna be even better. And these are the things where you can really improve your profits, because these are spaces you wanna capitalize on.
Hello, Miss Lee. Paul already did that end for the arugula, because they're just chunks.
I would, yeah, 1 more is good.
Yeah?
Is that what you're saying, Cal?
Yeah, I was saying it's cuspy. I'm like, I would put the 1 more in, because I usually try and do about, on average, 7 turnips per bundle.
Yeah, that's good.
And around
that's
9,
good. Like this one, it is cuspy, because this one could have been a smaller one, but I would prefer this than like taking it out.
Yeah.
So what we do is we give 1 sample bundle at the start of a harvest, the manager does, and then every 10 we encourage the staff to just check in with each other about their bundle size. And it's just so that as you harvest, 1 person could be getting gradually smaller and 1 person could be getting gradually larger. And in that case, then half the bunches are sort of on the bigger end of the sample and half the bunches are on the smaller end of the sample. So that's why we do that check-in every 10 bunches, just to make sure we're on the same as our partners as we're harvesting. Gabby, do you have your bags counted out in advance? So cool, Paula! Look at this! Oh yeah, 12-inch spacing.
You were right about the
the spacing? Spaces. Yeah, they're 1.5 inch each. Perfect! Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So Bryn and I are about to do the 3rd planting of arugula, red Russian, turnip, and radish. Just a regular, we do it every 2 weeks, planting. So then we're gonna, what?
We're doing it.
Yeah. I'm doing it with Bryn. Okay, that's getting cut out. So we're just gonna quickly take a peek at under these insect nettings to see how the germination is and how the spacing is, and we will either continue with the adjustments we've made or readjust, because last week it dropped a little more seed than we wanted. So we're just gonna continue, because we always weigh, and then that gives us more information when we're making these decisions. So we can slightly adjust it if we need. So we were dropping about 20% too much seed, so we were debating whether to adjust the rollers, or we actually just came up with the idea what we're gonna do is drop one of the hoppers. So we'll be doing 8 rows per bed instead of 10. And that should hit bang on the 20% less seed we want to drop, rather than attempting to adjust the rollers to accommodate for that.
Split between iceberg and romaine.
We're about to plant head lettuce, and this is how we mark out our 12-inch spacing.
Even though these were prepped last week, I'm just doing a quick rake for Bryn before she plants. And we always do that because the dirt settles, and this just softens it up and makes it into a nice seed bed. So you can see the difference behind me between the 2 beds, the one that I've raked and the one that I haven't. So the grind continues to pot up a bunch of stuff for the plant sale, and it's all in preparation for next weekend. It's Mother's Day weekend, so a lot of this week is just getting everything in line for that. I've had a busy week administration wise, like a lot of the promotional stuff and also getting the markets ready. So this is a huge part of what's going on. As I mentioned in the other videos and earlier this week, a lot of potting up is happening, and it's trying to get all done this week so that these can get nice and big for the plant sale over the next 2 weekends. It's yeah, a busy time. So they're gonna be in here all week doing this. Very clearly run out of space, and we're expanding into the sort of growing side of the nursery, which is okay for now. And now the shuffle begins, where we sort of are always trying to get things out that can be out for hardening off. So this lettuce, once it gets a little bigger, more onions, all of these things will go out as soon as they can to make space for other crops as we pot them up and get them ready for the fields. Obvious to gardeners and farmers, but if there's anyone watching that doesn't understand why you pot up, the reason is that obviously there's more access to nutrients in a larger pot. So when you start things off, like we have in the 128 cell trays for the basil here, we do that so that we don't take as much space up in the nursery. They don't need more nutrients until they get large, but once they sort of reach their capacity of that cell, we have to give them a larger home to get bigger. So we can see over here, these are the ones we potted up a little bit earlier. Look how big and happy they are. Whereas if they stay in the cell, you can see these ones have been in a little too long. The ones in the middle are starting to show signs of lack of nutrients. So we're not potting those ones up. We have enough extra where we're only gonna pot up the ones on the outsides that are still looking good. And they will be ultimately beautiful, like these ones, for the plant sale. Woohoo! One of the things we love the paper pot system for is herbs, specifically cilantro and dill, because they are typically they're typically a direct seeded crop and take a long time to germinate, and to get consistent germination in the field can be hard. This way we put a couple of seeds per cell and get consistent 2-inch spacing, and we plant that every 2 weeks, and that way for our chef clients and our markets, we have a steady supply all season long of really nice dill and cilantro. And herbs can be a really high profit crop because we can get several hundred $3 bunches per bed, and they also grow back for a second cut typically. So really, really good crop, and we love the paper pot for planting. We do half dill, half cilantro every 2 weeks, so 50 feet of each, 4 rows per bed. These are actually gonna maybe cause me a little bit of trouble because the roots are a little prolific, and when that happens, they get stuck together, but we'll see. Woo! No, it's going good. This is beautiful.
This morning we got 6 beds planted. We have our cilantro and dill. We direct seeded arugula, kale, radish, and turnip, and then some extra head lettuce that we had went in over here, and gems. So now we're just gonna cover these 3 beds with insect netting to stop the flea beetle from getting in there.
So for our bed prep, we have 3 ways we do it. We have no-till, minimal till, and mo-till. You like that one? Very good. Woohoo! Thanks, guys.
Everybody's so creative.
Okay, thank you. And this whole section behind me is demonstrating all 3. So right here we have beds that were in beautiful shape. You can still see they're defined. So this is where we would just do the simple broad fork, amend, and rake. And these are ready, you can see, glorious. These ones behind me here are a little bit nastier, but still have their shapes. So they don't need to be rebuilt, but the wheel hoe would be a little bit too much effort to try to get those weeds out. So what we do is, just to speed up the process, we do what I call a shallow till. So we're gonna show you what a shallow till is in a moment. And then lastly, we've gone over in other videos, the third type, the most sort of worst scenario when the beds are either really, really bad or they've gone completely flat. We rebuild with the rotary plow. So the rotary plow is an attachment that throws dirt to the side. It's also something that you can use to build beds to start with. But we, in this case, the beds are built, we go down the aisles and throw the dirt into the center. Those are the 3 ways we prep beds here. Here's another section of the crew. They're just going through and just initially raking, and then we will broad fork, amend, and wheel hoe in the amendments and rake finally, and then that's done. That's just the best case scenario. That's basically a no-till method. Cal's been trained up on the rotary plow, but she has not been trained up on this method of just the minimal till, using the tiller to just shave the top 2 inches, incorporate weeds and amendments and compost. So the reason that we only do the top 2 inches is that with deep tillage, you're destroying the soil and also bringing up dormant weed seeds. So we just want to get those top 2 inches. Another great implement is the power harrow. It tills this way. We just haven't invested in it, and we've just been happy with our tiller only doing the top 2 inches. So what we do is we actually hold it up so the tines are just grazing that. Are just grazing that, and we actually do little check-ins to make sure we're not going too deep. So Cal and I are just about to get going. She's getting trained up on it, so then she'll be fully comfortable with the BCS for the season, which is awesome. Boom, let's go. So for this, what I like to do is do it on 2nd gear. Going fast helps me sort of just make sure it's not like overdoing the tilling, as I mentioned. We've also adjusted the depth of the tines so that the guard is all the way down, so it can't really go too deep, but even then we still kind of hold it up a little bit and just graze it across. So 2nd gear, holding it up, and the depth protector thing is all the way maxed. I'm also against the no-till dogma because I really believe that it can cause stress for new farmers that don't really know what they should be doing, and putting unfair sort of guidelines on how you have to do something. We use tillage as a tool. We use the no-till principles to make our decisions, base our decisions on, but sometimes you just have to get a bed ready to prep, and there's nothing wrong with this. Having a bed prepped and ready to plant is far better than some idealistic goal of not using tillage at all because you have to have this perfect soil. I think it's silly, personally. We just pulled the tarp up. The beets, the signal crop for the flame weeding of the carrots haven't popped up yet. But again, just like last time we did the flame weeding, it's Friday. I know I'm not gonna do it over the weekend. And I know that the carrots, it's been 7 days, they're any day gonna pop. Same with the beet seeds. So they're probably, beet seeds are probably popping tomorrow. Carrot seeds are probably popping Sunday or Monday. So we're just gonna flame weed now. Cal's gonna take it away because I got Edie with me right now and I don't really wanna have her anywhere near a blowtorch. Good morning, first market of the season. It's such a neat feeling. Jean-Martin says it like you can just sort of picture every small farmer and producer doing the same thing across North America and even the extended the world, waking up, grabbing their coffee, heading out, filling their vans, heading off to market. It's kind of a really neat thing to think about while you're doing it. Yeah, so here we are. Let's do it. So it's the beginning of the year, so not a ton of stuff, but I'm happy. I'd like to be bringing a little more salad than we are, but we still have quite a few things, so customers are gonna be happy. They're not gonna be happy when we sell out a salad, but they'll be happy. A peek. Beautiful flowers, and then we're just gonna grab some plants to throw on the table because we have things ready for our plant sale, but I'm sure some people will want to buy things at the market as well. Oh my gosh. Ooh, it's gonna be so pretty. So at farmers market, you get stuck with neighbors, and sometimes you get stuck with a great neighbor. And Amy is the girl with the most cake, and that is my farmers market neighbor, and I'm so fortunate. And I think it's probably the closest thing to a work wife that we would ever possibly have. We've never worked corporate jobs,
no,
but we think that we're work wives.
For sure, absolutely. You should tuck in your shirt though.
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
Okay, whoops, I would look a lot better then, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start the inventory, Louise. What do we got? I think we should just write in our fryer, like
okay.
Not like left over and then total sold.
All right, so nothing left.
5 tulips, 4 daffodils. We won't do inventory on the plant sale. 0 salads of any kind. So that's a wrap on this week. The market nearly sold out. The chef took the rest. I just have a few bunches of turnips and micros in the fridge for salad tomorrow. And yeah, thank you again for checking out this episode. And if you enjoyed it, please like and follow and subscribe. And we're coming back next week with a big thing on the plant sale and Mother's Day. And of course, more field planting. Check you later.